Welcome to the Goat Show, the show where we celebrate and debate all things great. I am joined by my co-hosts, Fresh and Deezy. Welcome, gentlemen. Today we have a very special guest on the show. He goes by the moniker EHC Unfiltered, but his real name is Steve Gerraughty. And we'll get to him just shortly. But before we do, Fresh, what do the people watching at home need to do?
You gotta like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, and send it to everybody.
Send it to anybody who would like to, especially send it to the executives out there or the people that are executive minded who would like to enhance their abilities, both psychologically, physiologically, maybe even spiritually. I don't know. I don't know if we go that far, but yes, today our guest is Steve Gerraughty. He is a health coach, content creator. He does the EHC Unfiltered podcast, and he really specializes in helping executives or people with who have an executive mindset or want to have an executive mindset to be able to further elevate themselves, enhance themselves, both in terms of their performance capabilities, mentally, but also as their physiological capabilities and their health. So, without further ado, Steve, welcome to the Goat Show. How you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man. We met each other down here in where I am, out in Jacksonville, Florida. We met at an event out here called Sip and Pose. Shout out to Jordan Mixon and Chance Glenn, who run that event.
Love both of them.
Yeah, they're super cool and they're amazing figures down here in the fashion world down here. Especially Chance, she does fashion stuff all over the country.
She gets annoyed with me because I hype her up all the time, and she's like, "Get out of here!" But she's amazing.
She's amazing. I want to get her. I want to get her on the show. I need to do that. She's super modest, but all these swimsuit events all over the country. It's so strange that she's the person that does all that, but she's based in Jack. So
yeah, I always say she's the subject matter expert when it comes to pretty much everything she gets her hands on.
Yeah. No, she's incredible, and Jordan as well. Jordan's super cool. But we met at that event and we got to talking, and then I realized you had a podcast. We have a podcast, and then checked out your podcast. I was like, all right, this actually makes a lot of sense that we should talk because, our whole thing is about, about goats and greatness. And that's a lot of what you deal with and talk about and coach people through. So we'll get into all that in a second, but something we ask all of our guests on the show is if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, so I was thinking about that, right? And I'm stuck between two. And so one of them would definitely be being able to pause time because I constantly feel like there's not enough time in the day. And it would be really nice at the end of the day to pause time for like an extra hour, just to have an hour to do nothing and not feel guilty about it. That would be amazing. Um, Either that or like some sort of like enhanced pattern recognition. I think just because that could be applicable to so many different scenarios. You could apply it to business, you can apply it to interpersonal skills, you can apply it to all sorts of things. So those are kind of my two, and I think they both stem from uh places where I currently lack, I believe.
That's a new one for the show, pattern recognition, but I love that. I feel like, yeah, the ability to see the matrix. That's maybe what I would call it.
Yeah, essentially that's another way to put it for sure.
That's super cool, man. It makes sense with what you do with executive coaching that you would want to be able to see that. From superpowers to superhero origin stories. Tell us a bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? What was your life like growing up? And maybe what was your family life like? Your friends?
Yeah, so I was an army brat growing up, at least for the first couple years. I was born in Colorado. My mom was stationed there. My mom was an officer in the army. She was a nurse, and then moved around growing up. I think on average it was every other year I moved until I was like 22, I believe. I think the longest I stayed anywhere was the 4 years I was actually stationed at Camp Lejeune. Uh, so I've been a little bit of a nomad my whole life. Got into sales after high school, just because I had the interpersonal skills. It came easy being able to talk to people. And as long as you're not trying to scam anybody, you don't have to worry about tactics or anything really. You know what I mean? Just helping someone find what they're looking for. Um, but yeah, so got into sales and management, traveled a bit doing that. I was actually doing some door to door sales for a while. That was a whole nother beast. If anyone out there has ever done any sort of door to door situation, it's not for the faint hearted for sure.
I'm curious about this. So with door to door sales, I would have to imagine the most challenging part is you're literally going up to, you're not like, say if you're a car salesman, somebody comes in, they want a car. There's a little bit of like someone's there for a reason, and you can anticipate that. Okay, you can have a conversation. And they're welcoming.
Yeah, it's the difference between, a warm lead, right? Someone that comes to you and is curious versus a cold lead, which, when people think about that, they're usually thinking about getting somebody's phone number from a call log or something like that and calling people, which is essentially what I was doing, just in person. But yeah, people.
So, what I guess my question would be like to me that would be my superpower is like what are the best ways you found where you talk to someone in person as a cold lead and turn them into a warm lead?
um Man, it's there's so much that goes into it. It is actually a surprising amount of psychology because the entire interaction actually begins before you even knock on their door. Because we are trained to essentially judge the book by the cover. So we're looking at what condition is the house kept in, what cars are in the driveway, is there toys in the yard, is there, X, Y, and Z, is there police reports in the neighborhood, because I was selling home security and smart home tech. So we were selling, the security cameras and everything. So if there was something within the last week or so, you knock on the door, someone comes up and they're pissed off that you're knocking on their door, first of all, because no one wants to talk to a sales guy, let alone a sales guy that you didn't approach. Um, so almost immediately, everybody's upset that you're there, especially since I was in Alabama for this specific summer at least. But if there was an incident, something happened, the neighbors usually know about it. And especially in today's day and age, like as soon as it hits Facebook, the moms of the neighborhood know everything, you know what I mean? And doorbell cameras and all of that. So that's what I was there for. It was, hey, we heard this happened over here. We're running a special, there's no cost for installation if you do it while we're here. Yada yada yada. People want cameras and shit, and especially when you can make it make sense financially, right?
See, that makes a lot more sense because I was thinking like if it were me, I would just break and enter into someone's house, and then they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "See, I just broke and entered. You need security."
No, yeah, I've been accused of something like that because part of uh selling like smart home tech and stuff like that, right, is working in areas where crime happens, right? People who need the stuff. So there was an incident where, I went through the neighborhood, talked to one of these guys because he had a nice car in the driveway. And we were talking about cameras, and he was like, "No, nothing really happens." And I was like, "All right, yeah." I was walking through the neighborhood the next day, just smacked my mic. Walking through the neighborhood the next day, and went up to him just to say hi because letting him know I'm still in the neighborhood. And he got robbed that night, the night before.
Oh, so they think you were involved or something?
He thought I was like scouting houses to see like who had what and stuff like that. And yeah, so I mean, that stuff's real. That stuff happens. It's crazy. But after that, I was in sales and everything, and then pretty much COVID hit, and so there was no sales anything. There was, well, not even door to door, but like stores were closed down. Like no one was really hiring, especially. Um, and my whole family was military, so that was when I chose to join the Marine Corps, which completely changed the.
So your mom was in the military. Was she like Army or something like that, or
Yeah, my mom was a nurse in the Army. She was an officer, and then my stepdad was infantry in the Army. He did 13 years, I believe, before he got out. And my real dad was in the Navy, so like my whole family is military.
so during COVID is when you decided to join the Marines, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it was kind of one of those backed into a corner situations where, I was like, I don't like not having security. And so that was a big part of it for me. Part of it was I had always thought about the military growing up. Um, and it was kind of one of those like, do it before it's too late. Didn't want to be one of those guys that was like, oh, I almost did it. You know what I mean? Um, so it was just kind of a right place, right time, wrong place, wrong time, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. Uh, but yeah, and I figured if I was going to do it, I was going to go big, and that's why I joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Dang, man. Oh, you Navy Army people out there, we don't even want to hear about Air Force. All right, we've had enough Air Force guys on here.
I should have joined the Air Force.
Interesting. So you go through the Marine Corps. So my understanding is that what is CBRN? What is that? CBRN's Defense Specialization. Like that's what you eventually became. Like you became a chief, right? Like, can you describe like what that is? And
I was a section chief, which is kind of just a fancy way of saying you're like an assistant manager, basically on the totem pole. But pretty much, I actually joined the Marine Corps open contract, which for anyone that doesn't know means that I did not pick my job. I joined the Marine Corps and said, give me whatever you think is best. Which everyone that I've even met in the Marine Corps was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
well, why is that? Just because you run the risk of getting a really what kind of job?
Yeah, I mean, it's the needs of the military at that point. So they go based off of the jobs they need filled, and then your like aptitude scores, physical scores, stuff like that definitely come into play. But it really is just needs of the Marine Corps. So I could have been a cook. I could have been in the band. Like they could have put me anywhere.
Hey, listen, man. Steven Seagal was a cook. You know what I'm saying? And he kicked ass on that freaking boat. So you never knew.
He does something.
I think he's a Navy SEAL, though. But in that movie, like not in real life.
All of those movies are so hard to get through. They're awful in the best ways. You know what I mean? It's one of those. But yeah, so CBRN is also referred to as CBRN. It's chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear defense.
Oh shit! I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah, essentially, my job was to prepare for and be prepared for any sort of like chemical, biological attack, including nukes and things like that. So in peacetime, I don't do much. We run like the gas chambers. If you've ever seen like the videos where they're running out and they got the snot dripping out of their face and everything.
Yeah.
That was me. I was the guy that did that to them. Loved that part.
Hold on now. All right, hold on. You're never gonna run for office again, dude. You love gassing people in the chamber. Hold on now. Come on, Steve.
It's called the gas chamber. I don't know what you want me to say.
I feel like that's got to be kind of fun.
It is. It absolutely is, especially since it's one of the places where rank doesn't matter so much. So even as like a little low level enlisted guy, I got to look at all the guys with like the shiny ranks and everything and be like, get in there. No, you don't get to get out. I'm not signing it. Get in there.
Is it with that thing? I mean, does everybody cry, or does it affect different people in different ways?
It's definitely different people in different ways. Absolutely. There's actually some people who are immune.
Like immune to the gas?
Yeah. So there are people that can go in and just stand in there with no reactions at all, no effect on their skin, on their breathing, on their eyes.
Wait, hold on a second. Let's zoom back a little bit. Like, can you explain, like, for anybody who's not aware of what you do in the Marine Corps, Like, so can you explain like what that whole thing is, the process, and why it's done and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So the gas chamber is a way to familiarize you with your gear and to show you that it works. The main focus being your gas mask, right? And how to don and doff, which is just a fancy way of saying like clearing your mask. Um, and it's basically, yeah, it's basically just it's equipment familiarization and showing you that it works, so you have confidence in your equipment. It's a yearly thing that you have to do, and basically you come in with your gas mask on, everything's all sealed up, so you're good. You might feel a little bit of tingling on your hands or on the skin around your mask, because it's CS gas, uh, which is just like riot control essentially. What am I thinking of? Like pepper spray, but a little bit worse. Um, Not quite as bad as getting like actually maced though, if anyone's ever had that. But yeah, it's just familiarization with your equipment. You go in, masks on, you listen to me. I say, hey, we're gonna do all these things, and you do it. You practice taking your filters off and putting on new filters. It's just a way to get people familiarized with the equipment.
And in the process of doing that, you're supposed to get, or you're intentionally hit with it though, also, right? To just to understand the feeling of being hit with this stuff.
Yes and no. Part of that, yeah. This is where people get hit sometimes more than others, is because we also go through the clearing process of the mask. So we have you intentionally break your seal so that we can teach you how to clear it. So you break your seal, and then once you blow out all the air, then you open your eyes, start breathing again. Some people that didn't clear their mask properly or didn't seal it back on their face properly, they're going to get a big old whiff of, pepper spray, essentially. Some people will be just fine. So as long as you listen and you do things the way you're supposed to, you'll probably be just fine.
Are there some people who are like just immune to the gas altogether?
Yeah, 100%.
I guess they get recruited for stuff if they realize.
Not really, because it's not like they're immune to any actual like biological agents or anything like that, right? Yeah, it's really just like pepper spray. So, it's like a crystallized, it's really hard to describe, because it's like this little, like, capsule, and you, like, break it open, and the powder goes in the pan, and then you heat it up, and that off gases, and then you see all the crystals floating around in the air around you, and it burns. Um, but no, it's a good time, and essentially, being the chief just meant that I was in charge of going around to all the different, um sections and kind of just being like, hey guys, we got to get our training done. When can we get, your guys set up for training? When can we get your guys set up for training? That was pretty much it.
Got it. Got it. Um, how would you describe, because in media, Marine Corps, uh, I think there's a certain culture to it, and there's a certain mentality. I think there's a mental toughness. I think a lot of people associate with the Marine Corps, and then there's a sort of unity of purpose and unit that you could that people think about with the Marine Corps. Did you see that in your experience there, and how did that shape you in certain ways, your mentality, the way you look at the world?
Absolutely. So the Marine Corps is a whole different beast compared to any other branch, right? It really is the closest thing to a cult. Um, because if you meet someone through any other branch of service, even say the Navy SEALs or something crazy, right? They're going to say, I was a SEAL, I was a soldier, I was this, I was that. The Marines are the only ones that say, like, I'm still a Marine. You know what I mean? Like, once a Marine, always a Marine. So there is that, like, they indoctrinate it very deep into you that it is like who you are. Um, but that also does come with the Brotherhood, which when I say that, I'm including the women as well. It's all inclusive. Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone I think the biggest surprise I saw was that people genuinely did not care about where you came from, what your preferences were, any of that. and I was attached to an infantry unit. I was attached to a Victor unit. So, um, you would think that I would have experience with the most stereotypical like Marines, which I did, but like we had Marines from all sorts of different backgrounds. We had gay Marines. I know uh, a couple female Marines who are stronger than most of the men I've met in my life. Uh, one, she was in the infantry and she actually just graduated from DI school at the top of her class, and is now doing like uh, something crazy. I don't remember what it was. I'll have to touch base with her, but she's top of her class in like everything she does. And that's one thing in the Marine Corps is that like the women are held to the same standards as the men when it comes to that kind of thing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, like if you've seen the news lately, they're talking about like changing the standards and everything for like the army and stuff like that. The Marines already do that. It's already that way. We have different physical standards when it comes to like pull-ups, stuff like that. Like obviously, like you can expect a man to be able to do 15, 20 pull-ups. You can't expect every woman to be able to do that. Then again, there are some that blow men out of the water, including myself. I can't do 20 pull-ups right now. But I think that that was the biggest shock for me was that everyone was like genuinely on an even playing field. Like your background did not matter. And that was I think that was the coolest thing for me.
I love that, man. It's about what can you do in your performance, not about, anything that's kinda arbitrary.
Exactly. I mean, there's definitely still like racial undertones and things like that, and there's always going to be, um, with certain stereotypes and things like that. Like one of the biggest ones that you will hear, especially when it comes to like swim quals and stuff like that, is like with the really anyone who's not white, they'll be called dark green Marines.
Wait, what? Like, why?
Yeah, so anyone who's not white, they'll call them a dark green Marine because we're not white, we're not black, we're not brown, everyone's green. Some of us are just darker, darker green. But there's a stereotype that black people can't pass the swim qual, which people shout that it's racist and everything, but like when you actually go do it, you're like, it happens. So there are still things like that, and I mean, there's still gonna be, shitty people who say shitty things, and there's gonna be people who hold stuff like that over people's heads, but overall, it was not an issue at any point, and I definitely carry that, with me now is, like, I don't care about what your background is, I don't care about and not to say that I don't have empathy, but that's not who you are, you know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah. Um, Another aspect, well, we can kind of go into sort of this next phase of your life, which is that you leave. I believe you. Well, first of all, did you? Did you have? Were you on active duty in the Marine Corps, like overseas and things like that, or?
So I did not go to a combat zone. I wasn't in long enough for that. I joined in 2020 and got out in 2024. Um, but yeah, my only quote unquote deployment was to Okinawa. So I got to spend 6 months at a beach. You know what I mean? Um, 30 days were spent freezing my ass off in the mountains in Korea. But other than that, it was not bad. So, deployment was definitely a thing. Even though it was more of a vacation, you definitely still see a lot of the same things. You're, watching a lot of guys deal with being away from family and friends and, stuff going on while you're gone. We have a lot of people who, weren't home for like the birth of their child or the death of their parent or, any other combination of things. And then when you're not in a combat zone, it messes with you almost a little bit more because like at least if you're in like from the guys that I know who were in combat zones, you're at least able to rationalize, while I'm here, I'm doing something. That's why I'm missing these things. Whereas when you're on like a peacetime deployment, you're like, we're not even doing anything. I'm just here and missing everything. And then so people start drinking, and then that spirals.
I gotta ask, man, did you see a lot? Because, I hear from my friends who have been in the military. You know, the wives get a little antsy back at home. They be getting antsy. They be looking around. You know what I mean?
Out of the friends you have, if you still have a good amount of friends from your time in service, which ones were married, and are they still married to the same person?
I'm trying to count them off in my head now because everyone's got at least one divorce for the most part, myself included.
Due to being overseas, or just in general?
It's the military in general, even regardless of if you get shipped somewhere or not. You're gonna run into a lot of the same issues. It's being a military spouse is not for everybody, and it's not easy. And being with someone in the military is not easy. Um, and people suck. You know what I mean? And I think when you're a spouse or when you're in the military, I think it just kind of you get highlighted a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because it's like people do shitty things. Like, if someone cheats on a civilian, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that sucks. You shouldn't do that." But it's like, "Oh, you cheated on someone who was deployed," and it's like, "That's bad." So there's some like, yeah, it's really the same thing, but it's like,
I think it should be that way. Like, someone's out serving the country for everybody, and you fucking dishonor your fucking marriage, and yeah, that's
and I mean, we make jokes about it because that's all you can do, right? Um, Especially when you're on the other side of the planet and you're just like, "Oh, my wife turned her location off at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday." Like, you know what I mean? You see guys go through that stuff. Um, but yeah, no, I've seen guys step up to raise kids that weren't theirs because their wife cheated on them when they were gone. Like, messed up stuff. I've seen marriages fall apart, um, DUIs left and right.
DUIs at home when they get back, or DUIs like on military bases overseas, or both?
More so when they got back, because for the most part, overseas, we aren't allowed to drive. Only some people are, and that's kind of to reduce that factor, because otherwise we 100% would be getting locked up abroad way more often. Um, but that is another one of those negative stereotypes, right? Is the drinking that goes along with it. But absolutely, we see, and you see bumper stickers for it and stuff like that all the time. It's like, my girlfriend's or my girlfriend's husband fights for your rights or something like that. Like, we see stuff like that all the time, and it's real, but you gotta kind of chuckle at it sometimes. But yeah, you got to find the right person. That's all it is. Picking the right person. Because I know someone who is with the same person, has been with the same person their entire military career, and he was MARSOC, so he was a Marine Corps Raider, which means she had no idea where he was 6 months out of the year, like if not more. And then as soon as he was back, like I think she said over the course of 3 years, she saw him for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for the rest of it, you're just floating around somewhere doing something somewhere.
besides like like not having the connection and the intimacy, it doesn't sound horrible. Like they get to treasure that time. They listen, not permanently. It's not going to work in the military like that forever, But when he gets
Well, that was why he got out. So
right, as well, when he's done, or when you see him back, like you could actually treasure that moment, and that time might be more valuable, when you're with them.
and I think in the old days, I think before, phones and Instagram and Tinder and all that stuff, I think, it was more possible. I think that's where it gets kind of romanticized, right? Is our grandparents used to be able to do that kind of shit. You know what I mean? That's where all that comes from.
They also got away with more cheating, and no one would ever know because there's no social media, internet, camera, fucking recording. It's a he said, she said. No, I didn't do that. It's bullshit.
And they're like, oh, well, we have you on camera from 6 different angles, actually. And it's like, shit.
And we have your GPS location, and actually, Siri was monitoring you during that time. We have audio recording.
Yeah, we have your approximate location within 5 feet based off of the cell phone towers from before you turned your phone off. And it's like,
listen, military wives, you got to turn off that ring cam. Don't forget about that ring cam.
If the ring cam goes off, I'm a military husband. I'm having police do a welfare check on my wife.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, will you check on my house? My cameras just went down. Someone could be breaking into my house. Should just be my wife there. Only a woman.
Only
Yeah,
my
don't
wife.
shoot
If
her.
anyone else
If
is
there's
there,
anybody else,
just take them out. Just end it right there.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Don't
No,
call
it's,
nobody.
it's
Drone
it's
strike the
very
house.
real.
I'm not giving nobody the benefit of the doubt. You turned it
Right.
off. You shouldn't have. Drone
Yeah,
strike the
bring a
house.
new meaning to clearing the room, you know.
Sheesh.
But yeah, I mean, it's very real. You see people break down. People lose. I mean, everything. I've seen a guy go from gunnery sergeant with a couple kids and a wife, and one DUI later, and fucking now he's back in the barracks. His wife took the kids. She's gone. Like, and now he's got to pay alimony. So not only is he on half pay because he got in trouble, but he has to now pay that to his. So he gets nothing. So we literally work to support our ex-spouses. That shit happens a lot. Or like, I mean, you've seen it in movies. Fucking people come home and like their stuff's just gone, just cleared out. Like all that does come from reality. Like that happens all the time. I think even when I went into boot camp, I think the majority of us in there at least had someone we were like talking to or whatever when we left and we were writing letters to. Every single one of us got Jodied at one point.
Earlier you had said, and this is all about you, so that's why I'm kind of getting into it. But I don't want to open up any trauma. You had said that you had one divorce. Was that from military experience, or was that outside of this experience that you had?
Yeah, no, that was in the military. That was not very long lived. I was not in a very good headspace, and then met this girl. We had been seeing each other. Everything was going great. And then my deployment was coming up, and we decided to get married before I went on deployment. And then, yep. And then I think it was 3 months after I got home, or within 6 months of me being home, we were getting divorced. So
Was it just because wrong person, or what?
just such a combination of things. I was looking for safety. I was looking for some sort of stability. She was a like Southern Christian girl. I was the second guy she had ever been with, and so I was like, I'm safe here. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to worry about anything. Not the case. So between that and then also just like rushing into a very serious relationship, things like that. I mean, and then the stress of being on deployment for 6 months and then coming back and like trying to reintroduce yourself to this person, basically. It was just a conglomerate of things that were bound to go wrong, you know?
Did it at least end on a relatively cordial note, or was it kind of chaos?
No, not at all. Not at all. She put my cat in the shelter.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah, dude, she got rid of my cat. I was pissed. Yeah, because I was paying for the apartment, or at least helping pay for the apartment that she was staying in while I was still staying on base. So she had the cats, because we had 2, and she got rid of my cat. I was like, just give me until I get out so I can come get my cat. And she was like, nope. And then was like, also, I'm going to make you pay for me having to feed him and all this stuff. I was like, what? Yeah, basically she extorted me for so much money. And then it was basically like I talked to a lawyer and the lawyer was like, "Yeah, if you fight this, you will win. You will get everything you're asking for, but you are going to pay more money in court fees and legal fees than what she's asking for." So, it is probably just easier to pay her, which is what I did. So, yeah. That's what happens. I had a girlfriend try to call my chain of command at one point. Like, girls are vicious, dude. They do not care. I say this as I am in a fully committed and loving relationship.
See, trad cons, y'all ain't safe either. All right. Anyway, well, now I understand why transitioning out of the Marine Corps, you went into studying psychology. Can you maybe speak on that? I know you went to what is the Southern New Hampshire University, and you specialized in that. What was sort of your was it because of all these things you saw that got you interested in the psychological aspects of things?
Yeah, so, when I was getting out, I initially thought I was gonna be just fine transitioning out of the military because I didn't join until I was, like, 24. So I was like, I'm not, some 17-year-old kid. I've lived my life. I've lived on my own. I've done all these things. I'll be fine. Um, but like the loss of purpose and loss of identity it's heavy. There's a lot of like all of a sudden just it's gone, and you have these people where like, not only do you live with them, but you eat with them, you sleep with them, like, you're in the field together, so, like, you're going through some of the best and worst times that you've ever experienced, and then all of a sudden, everybody's gone. Like, all of a sudden, you're alone. And most people, like, especially, for those kids, because I might have had it easier than a lot of people getting out, Um but especially people who don't have like those support systems and things like that. Like I still have my family, I do still have friends, like group chats, things like that. And I still felt lost. So a lot of people that don't have those just kind of slip through the cracks. So when I got out, initially I was actually going to school for business. Um, and decided to change my degree to psychology with a focus on mental health. Part of that was for my coaching, um, being able to kind of integrate just more holistic solutions to things, stuff like that. But it is also just kind of just understanding everything. So, from the military, from uh, my own mental health struggles, from trying to help other people, it was just trying to compound all of it together. And actually, the day that I switched my degree from business to psychology, um, is the day that I got the phone call from my chief warrant officer, uh, telling me that my battle buddy, my roommate, um, took his own life. And so, yeah, and so that was April of last year. Um, and then that was the day that I decided I was going to do the coaching thing 100%, um, because I'm kinda doing it, like, in his name now, it's not just for me kinda thing, um, and the whole goal of that is that I plan on being able to send his daughter to school because she's young, um, hopefully old enough to be able to remember him when she grows up, but maybe not, like, she's that young, but that's my boy, that's his daughter, so I'm gonna make sure she's taken care of. The goal long term is to be able to start, um, some sort of nonprofit or charity or, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Specifically for, like, schools, colleges. You know what I'm talking about? What's the word I'm looking for here? There you go, thank you. Um, yeah, start something specifically, like, in his name. Um, yeah, that's why I'm doing it now.
That's I mean, sad and unfortunate that happened, but something beautiful can come out of that, and you can be a part of that, making that happen. That's amazing, dude. So let's talk about your coaching. So were you always into physical fitness? Was that something throughout your life? Because you kind of, from my understanding, what I'm seeing, uh, you kind of you're taking this side of psychology and these types of things, and you're also integrating that with physical fitness, nutrition, all the aspects of health. Is that something you've always been interested in, or is it just something that because you want to create something holistic? It's just something that you feel like needs to be included when you're coaching people.
So it's a little bit of both, right? I got into just starting to like work out and stuff like that towards the end of high school. A lot of my friends were either football players or they did like gymnastics or whatever it was. So I was friends with a lot of people who were very fit. I was the stoner skateboarder kid who was not necessarily in that category, right? Um, but so something somewhere, one of my friends got me to start going to the gym, and I fell in love with working out. Took me probably 4 years to really start figuring out like what I'm actually supposed to be doing. Um, but so that's how I got into it. Started doing some sports in my senior year of high school. I ran track and was starting to get all the other track kids into like actually lifting weights and stuff like that. Um, and it's just one of those things like people always used to come to me for advice, questions, whatever it was regarding health and fitness and stuff because they just knew that's what I did. And kind of just got to a point where I was like, maybe I should start charging people for this instead of doing it for free. Um, and then it just became a business opportunity. Initially it was going to be just like a small side gig thing for a couple extra bucks, and then it turned into doing this is what I'm doing. This is my whole thing. Um, and as far as the psychology part of it, I do think there's a difference between like a personal trainer and like a performance coach, right? Um, so I'm not just looking at your form when you're doing a squat, right? It's everything outside of the gym as well. And most people know that how you're feeling is going to affect you physically, right? But it goes both directions. So when we're talking about performance, especially for professionals, um, a lot of it does just come from habits. Now, granted, most of those are dietary habits, lifestyle habits, things like that. Um, and realistically, like it's almost most coaches nowadays that are the online coaches. Realistically, like we're lifestyle coaches. It's just that we don't sell it that way. We sell it as health and fitness because that's kind of the base. Everyone wants the results. So they want the six pack, they want the muscles, they want the strength, they want the stuff that comes with it. But if you tell them that it's because they're not going to sleep at night, they're not going to listen to you. You know what I mean? So you almost have to frame it as just health and fitness and then also kind of start sprinkling in like, oh, you've been feeling more anxious, like start doing some breathing exercises, do like this kind of thing and like meditate, journal, and you start integrating all those other things that have impacts to people's lives outside of just lifting weights. Um, so that's where I'm starting to kind of bring those together. Because a lot of people aren't super interested in the lifting weights aspect. They just kind of want the results. So that's where I bring the psychological aspect in and try to connect like, hey, if you get up in the morning and you go outside and you go for a walk first thing and get sunlight in your eyes, like you feel better, you'll start eating better, you perform better, and it really does all just tie in. Because even when I was in sales, that was a big thing for us. Was look good, feel good, smell good, and do good. So as long as you look good, feel good, and smell good, you're probably going to do pretty damn good. You know, if you kind of look like shit. You didn't really brush your hair that day, or you didn't, brush your teeth before you left the house or whatever it is. And you don't look put together. You didn't put your cologne on. You feel kind of bummy. That's how you're going to perform. Right. And so for a lot of people, it's kind of just trying to gently lead them to better lifestyle choices through the lens of, we're doing this for your fitness. And then they're like, okay, instead of like, it also helps all of these background psychological things. But so that's where I'm trying to bring those two worlds together a little bit more.
With the clients that you have, what would you say is like the number one thing that they want, and then what would you say is the number one thing they need?
So as far as what they want, I mean, everyone wants their dream body, right? But what I hear the most is that they just want to feel good. Like, most people don't feel good. And like, when you're in a bad spot long enough, it becomes your new baseline. You know what I mean? So like, if you've ever been on like a strict diet for long enough and then you get off of it, like, you immediately feel bloated. You immediately feel the effects of whatever junk food you had. Because if you're eating chicken and rice all day, every day, and then all of a sudden you eat a whole large pizza, which I've done more than once, like, you feel it, you feel shitty. And so, because now you have something to compare it to. Whereas if your general every day is just pizza, McDonald's, whatever you can get your hands on, you don't even really notice that you feel shitty because you don't ever really feel good. You know what I mean? It becomes your new baseline being down here, and it just leaks into the rest of your life. Yeah, most people are just looking for some sort of peace, realistically, and they're looking to get that through, literally taking the load off of their own back and their own shoulders. The unfortunate thing, so this is going to lead into what a lot of people need. They need to realize that what I do should be preventative, right? And so this should be focused on longevity. This should be an investment into your future. A lot of what coaches have to deal with is people who are in a situation because of a decade, 10 years of bad decisions, and they want it to be gone in 10 weeks. And it's like, it took you 10 years of those habits to get here, and now you want to fix it in a couple. Like, no, it's gonna take some time. So that's what people need to realize, is that this should be preventative. And then the longer it's not a preventative thing, that we're trying to be healthy for ourselves, the harder it's gonna be to get you to the baseline you should be at. So they just need to get started, is really what it is. That would be what I would say, is just get started. I don't care if you're 16, 26, 86, start walking, start drinking water.
Yeah. So what do you recommend for people who, maybe somebody's watching, they want to kind of get into a better place? What do you do with your coaching? Like, what's the first thing you tell them to do? Whether it's a bigger thing, conceptually, or just a little tactic that you have people do to just get into starting new habits that are positive.
Yeah, it depends on where they're at. If they're, just for the sake of conversation, you're completely brand new, never done anything like this, but you're like, hey, I need to get started. Like, where do I start? You start tracking something, right? So if it's water, start with just tracking your water. And then once you're down to, a gallon every day or whatever it is, now you've got that one. Okay, now we're going to track sleep. Okay, so you go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. You're on a good, 7+ hours of sleep every night. Okay, now we're going to track, you know what I mean? And
what is the importance of like having something that you can quantify, or being, having something that like specifically the tracking aspect? What do you feel is the bigger benefit of getting in that habit of tracking things?
It's precision, right? So especially with like the coaching that's done nowadays, it's all so individualized. Um, and especially when we're kind of bringing in the physiology and psychology integrations, everything is so data driven and context specific that the more information we have, the better. And because that's really all it is, like you said, you're quantifying it. That's all it is. That's all we're doing is taking something, turning it into data, and putting it on a sheet so that we can go look at it later. That's it. And so that's another thing, especially for anyone out there who is going to be working with a coach or anything like that. When you're doing like check-ins and stuff like that, or you're weighing yourself, or you're tracking your meals, whatever it is, all of those numbers are not for you. You know what I mean? Those are for your coach. That's why you're giving them to him or her, is because we take that information because we are fairly unbiased, right? If you've ever tried to coach yourself, it's a nightmare. That's why coaches have coaches. Um, but we can look back at all this data, right? And so that's why it's important to have as much specific data as possible, because then we can look back and go, okay, well, when did this start changing? What was the situation? Why? Like, because you can start being like, oh, well, I'm not really feeling energized throughout the day. I don't feel like I'm getting good enough workouts. And it's like, okay, how's your water intake been? Have you been tracking it? And it's like, well, no, I haven't been tracking it anymore. And it's like, all right, well, track it for the next couple days. And then usually they go, yeah, I wasn't drinking enough. So it is just to create that data, but it also makes the client so much more conscious of their decisions. Because when you're conscious of, oh, I have to get 8 hours of sleep tonight, you're going to be thinking about it so that you're aware. You go to bed on time. Same thing with the water. You're like, I need to get through this gallon, so that you're constantly touching on it and drinking on it throughout the day. Um, yeah, it's really just to make you as the client more aware of where you're at, so that we can create a baseline. Because the more variables we can kind of get rid of, the better.
It's like all analytics. So I'm a personal trainer as well out here in AZ. I do a lot of like personal coaching right now to a lot just my friends. Got my friends on some workout plans and some diet plans, and having all the data, sleep and everything. It's like take the same person and do one workout on a Monday, and then have the same eating plan, and then next Monday do that same workout. What is the change? Does it go? Is it decrease? Let's say it's a max rep. Why is your max rep going down? What's different today than was last week? Oh, well, you only got 4.5 hours of sleep. You were drinking this weekend, but you didn't drink last week. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and it really is like you could have a couple beers and that could make all the difference, especially when it comes to like your actual physique, as far as how you're presenting visually. Um, you could have the same number on the scale. You could have the same client be 200 pounds and look like shit, and then be 200 pounds and look amazing. You know what I mean? Within a couple days, even, depending on just how they're carrying that water weight and everything. Um, but yeah, just like you said, the more of a solid, strict baseline you can be on, definitely the easier it is for your coach. Um, and that's part of why I actually moved away from doing the in-person training as well, is because I feel like my clients didn't get enough out of it, and they're overpaying me for a 45-minute session. And so, because if you think about it, how much does an in-person trainer cost, right? Anywhere between, say, $20 and $100. Um, so say it's even only $20 though. You go 5 times a week. That's $100 a week. Or you could pay me $400 a month, which is the same thing, for 24/7 coaching that covers sleep, that covers your diet, that covers your lifestyle plan. We can make changes on the fly when you're going on vacation. We can do all these things. Whereas when I was just doing a little bit of in-person training, it was like, okay, you did 10 pounds last week. We're going to do 12 pounds this week, and I'm going to check your form. And and usually it turns into like a therapy session realistically, but
Well, let's talk about that, because what would be the equivalent in terms of tracking for all the mental health aspects? What do you recommend what do you recommend as a practice in combination with all the, the physical, training that would be the equivalent, when it comes to mental health and mental acuity?
yeah, so tracking again, honestly, it's keeping a logbook, right? So the same way we're tracking our sleep and turning it into some sort of numerical data, we're going to do the same thing with your mental health, right? So anytime that you have some sort of struggle, whatever it is, you're going to write it down, and we're going to address it that way. Like I encourage a lot of journaling. I encourage a lot of physical movement outside, whenever possible.
Sorry to interrupt, but I want to kind of talk about this for a second. What is it about journaling? Like, what's the power of journaling? A lot of really successful people journal, and I gotta be honest, man. I find it's hard to like take a break and then pull out a pad. And a lot of people say journal with an actual pad and a pen, not typing. Like, what is it about that process and journaling that makes such a difference with people and helps them improve, in all aspects?
Yeah, so there's a science to it. It's a different form of commitment, right? So I can look at you and say, yes, I want to join you in your program and I want to do it. That's a verbal confirmation, right? But then if you have me sign something, I might go, I don't know if I want to commit. You know what I mean? So you're committing to yourself, whatever it is, and it makes you much more conscious of the situation. You're able to kind of take more of a third person look at whatever it is that's going on. Um, but I mean, that's one of the things I still struggle with the most is journaling. I'm fucking terrible at it. I'm so bad.
It's a lot more difficult than just tracking your food and water and sleep, because you have to be like, it's a lot more difficult than just tracking like calories and sleep and numbers, because they're emotions, and quantifying your emotions in paper. Like that takes a lot of thought and effort to be able to put that. Once you write it down, it really becomes real. When it's in here, it's here. But when you put it on something and you make it physical, you've now made your thoughts in reality. You've put them on a piece of paper. So I feel like that is super big, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's
Sorry to interrupt, but is there a specific way that you have people journal? Like, is there a sort of outline or a structure to it?
it really it sucks because it depends on the person. Um, some people are super easy and don't need a whole lot of instruction. You can just kind of be like, "Hey, write stuff down," and they'll do it. Um, but I actually do have. I can get you guys a link as well. But I have a actual journal um, that was recommended to me, and it's pre not like pre-filled out, but pre-designed to kind of like walk you through how to journal. So that's what I'm going to be using. I've had these journals for like months and I haven't cracked one of them open yet. Um, but yeah, I recommend that for people who need a little bit more guidance. Um, because that's what I needed. Because I'm especially as like a guy, I'm just like I'm not used to addressing things so directly when it comes to emotions. So it is kind of like where do you start, and it's just write it down, whatever it is. End of the day, my girlfriend, what she does is she starts with like her checklist of what she wants to do tomorrow, and then just kind of lets it flow into like whatever she's thinking, whatever happened that day, stuff like that.
And then let's talk about what you were saying a second ago. And I've been hearing a lot about this lately, like going outside in the morning, getting the sun in your eyes. What is that all about?
So that's I mean, you'll hear the terms thrown around a ton, but like grounding and everything. But getting the sun in your eyes first thing in the morning um, helps reset your circadian rhythm. So basically, it's going to help with your cortisol first thing in the morning and everything as well. So it keeps your hormonal cycles in balance, so that you get tired when you're supposed to get tired. You have energy when you're supposed to have energy. Because our cortisol is naturally at its highest point first thing in the morning. That is what wakes us up. That's what gets us out of bed and gets us moving, stuff like that. When we wake up and we don't have natural light, it throws everything off. And it's the same thing. So at night, I lost my glasses. I need to find them because it's been screwing with me. But one of the biggest cheat codes I've been using is like those the blue light glasses. So like I can wear those and still work on my computer and everything, and it doesn't strain my eyes, and I can actually feel myself start to like get tired as I'm working, which is wild for me. Because if you guys are anything like me, if you've got a good TV show on or video or whatever, you could sit there and stare at that screen until the sun comes up. With those glasses, it really helps me wind down, go back to sleep.
I mean, will it allow me to doom scroll Instagram and Twitter for 6 hours
without your eyes hurting?
Yes, if I wear these glasses.
It'll definitely be better.
You don't have blue light protection on your glasses, ZiLLY?
I don't. I need to wrap them up.
Behind in the times.
Put a cover on it.
Bro, it's you just get them in the lenses, bro. It protects your eyeballs.
I mean, that's where like the seasonal depression and stuff like that comes from, right? Is all of a sudden we don't have sunlight anymore.
Do you have any thoughts on like red light therapy? Like going into a room and having all that stuff?
Yeah, so actual red light therapy, from everything that I have seen, is phenomenal. I know one guy, he added it to his home sauna, and I want it. I want it so bad.
Well, sauna and cold plunge also. I mean, are those things that you think are positive?
I think everything is a tool. Everything has its place, right? I think do I think you need to plunge into freezing cold water every day for 20 minutes? No. Like, can you take a cool shower to rinse off after you went to the gym? Yeah. Like, I think there's balance in there for most people. I think if you're a serious athlete, like if you're like an elite athlete, then like ice baths and things like that make sense, right? Because you're looking to optimize your recovery. But I've also seen like a couple studies lately saying that ice baths didn't help. They actually like made things worse. I don't know. Overall, I think they're all great. I think everything has its place. Personally, I hate being cold, hence the beanie and sweatshirt inside. But yeah, red light therapy, saunas, I love all of that. And it's phenomenal for blood flow. I used to stretch in the sauna after my workouts. That was my favorite.
And red light therapy is super good for hair growth, skin.
Yeah, it's great for like acne, sun scars, all that stuff. So there's definitely like if you have a spot for it, I would recommend it. Absolutely. I know there's a lot of gyms that like offer it.
Listen, man, I want to do no exercise. I want to eat right. I want to do nothing. I'm going to get these peptides, inject them into my stomach.
That's not how it works, bro.
And the AIs are going to build the new me.
I run into that all the time. All the time. People are like, well, what can't I just take GLP-1s? And it's like, technically, like, yeah, you can shut off the thing in your brain that tells you to eat food. Go for it. Like, you're also decreasing your bone density, risking
and muscle mass.
Yeah, risking intestinal paralysis.
You still have to do all this other stuff to.
Yeah, there's a lawsuit out of Rhode Island right now for causing vision loss from GLP-1s, and it's like I saw a video earlier actually that fucking nailed it. And it was like all GLP-1s did was show us that the people who were so body positive actually just were lazy and didn't want to do the work.
Because now everybody's fucking skinny.
Yeah, and GLP-1s is another one of those things where it is a tool. It has a place. And it's the same. It's my same view with steroids. You know, anabolics are a tool. They have a place. Like insulin is a tool. It has a place. For some people, it makes more sense than others. You know, um, I think that's a big issue that we're running into now is that there are so many blanket statements thrown out there that people will be like, "Oh yeah, well what about this?" And it's like, "Yeah, you're right. Like not everything needs to be so black or white." You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be yes or no. It can work for me and not apply to you at all, you know? And I think that's a big thing that we are dealing with in today's age. And I think AI is going to be an interesting and it already is. It already is an interesting component to the fitness space.
I think what you're saying is I should just inject HGH into my brain.
Hey, if you can afford it.
HGH is expensive, bro.
Yeah. Pharma grade HGH is very expensive.
Okay, noted. Tell me about the podcast, man. EHC Unfiltered. What prompted you want to do the podcast, and what do you talk about on the show, and who do you talk to?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, it started as more of a fitness focused podcast was my vision for it. Um, and then it kind of just turned into talking to cool people, you know, talking about what they do, what they love, where they come from, their stories. You know, I've connected with a few guys who were actually in the same unit as I was in the Marine Corps before I joined. Um, so I've crossed roads with people that way. But yeah, it's just talking to people, giving people a spot to share their story, you know. And I've run into a lot of cool people through my travels and things. So you know, I connected with you guys. My last podcast episode was with my friend Lily. She works for NASA now. Met her in the Marine Corps, and she is now uh, working on a program with NASA to give back to her community on her reservation. So, yeah. And one of the guys that I talked to from my old unit, he fights international child sex trafficking on his own dime. Like it's all paid for privately. He's also a like wildfire rescue guy. Like he goes and saves people from wildfires. I'm just like, these stories are freaking cool, man. Like, you know, so that's kind of what it turned into is just sharing people's stories.
Damn, I might want to get him on the Goat Show. Might have to look through all your eps, and
Yeah, you can go look. They're in there.
I did watch a couple episodes. It's good, man. I like how you're a good interviewer.
I think it's funny. I get a lot of compliments on my introductions. And at first they were bad, but they're scripted now. So they're so much better.
What would you say? Yeah, I mean, I'm always fascinated to talk to other people who who are doing podcasting and things like that. What would you say maybe has been the biggest challenge and then the biggest blessing in doing it?
The biggest challenge is when you have someone who's not naturally a speaker and you have to kind of hold their hand and walk them through it. And it's like very clear to like everybody that you're just like, we're all uncomfortable right now, right? Like,
I'll say this: I'm lucky because I have Fresh and Deezy. So if somebody's not that good, we just take the show over and we just start talking about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. Like if you're terrible today, we'd just be like talking.
I mean, that's good that you have the backup. Yeah, when it's just me though, and it winds up. That's how I know usually that a podcast isn't going great, is if I'm talking more than I feel like I should be. You know, because usually as like the interviewer, I feel like if I ask the right question or a couple of questions, then it should send them off on some tangent of some sort. But sometimes, I mean, I get people that are just very like yes or no, even to like open-ended questions, and you're just like, you're not giving me anything to work with here at all.
I was gonna say, what's been the biggest blessing in doing podcasting?
Oh, I mean, yeah, the biggest blessing is definitely just getting to meet these people. honestly, and getting to talk to them on a deeper level, you know, because we have so many niceties, I feel like, in today's age. Everyone's just very polite, surface level, and then that's kind of where it stops. You know, I like being able to hear people's background stories about, what makes them who they actually are. Like we talked about struggles from people's growing up, things that people run into, adversity wise, things like that. And then to run into people who are like, yeah, I had, uh, I was being harassed over here and now I work at NASA, and then stuff like that. It's like, that's insane. And I just like being able to put that out there. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy that someone scrolls by and like is just like catches a couple words from a podcast and is like, man, that's what I needed today. You know what I mean? Because that's part of what got me out of my funk when I got out of the military. Was a lot of listening to podcasts, listening to people basically just be like, get out of your own way, which is very important and you have to do. It's not always easy, but that's what I do. Is I want to reach people and I want to make a difference. And it's not even necessarily that I want to be the one to make the difference. If I'm connecting people and they're making the difference, then that's super cool by me. You know what I mean?
That's great, man. What's the vision, man? What are we looking at? 3 to 5 years, maybe longer?
That keeps changing. The 3 to 5 year vision, obviously, I'm looking to scale my coaching team. I would like to take a step back from personally coaching and become more of the CEO founder and start handling more of the back end business. Maybe even give some more time to the podcast and things like that. Broader education platform. I would like to be able to provide more free information that's a little more in depth than just like an Instagram post. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, speaking, media, impact, just helping people perform. I want to keep moving forward. The way I look at it is like 6 months ago, this wasn't even a thing. So, in another 6 months, my vision for 3 to 5 years from now is going to be completely different.
Right. Cool, man. And I know that, you're looking out for your friend's little one. So that's really amazing. And yeah, man.
Her mom doesn't know that yet. I haven't told her because there's no point to me anyway, there's no point in being like, don't you worry, I'm gonna make sure, you know what I mean? It just feels empty. It doesn't feel genuine. So to me, even if it takes 5, 10 years, 15 years, I'd rather show up at that point and be like, hey, like your dad took care of me. You don't have to worry. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole goal.
That's amazing, man. She's lucky to have you. I'll put it that way. Well, listen, dude, this has been a great interview. I'm happy you decided to come on the show. We only met somewhat briefly, but man, I feel like this has been fantastic. We toast the goats on the show. So if you have something to toast with,
Here.
toast to you, good sir. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wishing you the best and all the success. So you are planning to move down to Jacksonville, next year or something like that?
Yeah, so Jordan is my manager. He is my agent, and then Chance is my modeling coach. So they're both down there. My current bodybuilding coach is out of the Tampa area. So all of my people are in Florida, and I'm closer to Ottawa than any other major American city. So,
well, you're closer to Fresh. Fresh is out there in Toronto. So
I'm in. If you're up there, I'm in Potsdam, New York. So
not too far.
Yeah,
cool.
Cold.
Yeah.
Frozen Amish wasteland.
Dude, I'm out in Phoenix, bro, and it was 80 degrees. It's literally the
I
weather.
used to live
21
in
here.
Arizona. I used to
It
live in
was 80
Surprise.
degrees today, bro.
It's
What?
21.
You used to
What
live
about
out
where
here in
you're at,
AZ?
bro? What's it like over there?
Right here in New York, yeah, it's currently 21 here. It feels like 14.
Damn.
It was 81 today. My bad. The
Dude,
low
it was
is
like
40.
it was like 60 something.
Yeah, you can
and I was
absolutely
dying.
go fuck yourself. Why don't you sit on an egg?
Dude, it's 53 degrees in my apartment.
Yeah, I do not miss those Northeast winters, man. I went to school up there, and I don't miss them at all. Well, anyway, man, listen, this has been a great interview. I appreciate you coming on the show, Steve. We'll put all of your information in the show notes.
Beautiful.
And, yeah. And everybody out there, check out EHC Unfiltered. Check out those interviews. They're really cool. Support a fellow podcast grinder out here. Grind it out. And fresh, I think with that, what do the people at home, the executives, or the people who wish to have an executive mindset, what do they need to do before we call it here today?
Like, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell, and do better, man. Do better.